One of the major benefits of working with CAN bus is that it's incredibly simple to wire up a CAN network. Unlike the way that old school communication of information was achieved in wiring harnesses where you might have a single conductor for every signal you want to broadcast, in CAN you only need to connect the CAN high and CAN low ports of every node on the bus together. This is typically achieved with twisted pair cable. Yellow is often used for CAN high and green is often used for CAN low, though this isn't in a standard anywhere. And this form of communication is pretty robust. You can introduce connectors and crimps along the way if you'd like to. As long as you make sure that the CAN high port of node A is connected to the CAN high port of nodes B through however many, and the CAN low port of node A is connected to the CAN low port of CAN B and however many, and that at no point you have a short between these conductors and ground, or these conductors and each other, or these conductors or anything else, or an open circuit somewhere, then you can be fairly sure that the CAN communication is going to be robust. In practice, within wiring harnesses, you'll typically find that CAN cables are twisted together. We already talked about why in the electrical signals video. Differential signaling of the CAN high and the CAN low lines means that provided you ensure that any introduced noise is coupled between CAN high and CAN low, as long as you make sure that that noise is equally induced in the two, then taking a subtraction of their line voltages will eliminate that induced noise. You can readily twist these wires by hand. You don't need a special machine or anything. I like to keep the kind of intersections on my twists about an inch apart. And you don't really need to use any special wire for CAN bus either. We're not transferring any large currents or operating at particularly high voltages. You might opt for a slightly beefier wire if you have a very, very long run and you are concerned about voltage drop. But for the most part, the CAN standard is pretty tolerant of this. That being said, in environments that are very electrically noisy, like, I don't know, near a motor controller on a car, you may not be able to only rely on differential signaling to reject the amount of noise that's being induced. In these circumstances, you may opt to shield your CAN cables, essentially creating a Faraday cage with a ground around the outside to help reject some of that noise. Now, there's one other thing you have to do when wiring up a CAN network, especially if the run lengths are long. It's called termination. The CAN standard requires that a small amount of leakage be allowed between CAN high and CAN low through a resistance in order to dissipate electrical reflections. The standard specifies that you need a total resistance of 60 ohms between CAN high and CAN low, and this is typically achieved by placing two 120 ohm resistors in parallel at either end of the bus. These resistors are called termination resistors. They terminate the bus. And the standard doesn't specify exactly how you have to go about placing them. Sometimes they're built into the nodes at either side of the bus. Sometimes they're attached separately. You can actually buy little connectors that have termination resistors in them that you plug in at the end of a bus. But no matter how you achieve it, as long as you ensure there is a total 60 ohm resistance between CAN high and CAN low, you'll probably be pretty okay. Confusion around how to achieve the right amount of termination is actually very common. Because you add termination resistors in parallel, putting in more than one of them actually reduces the total termination on the bus. Say if you start with only a single 120 ohm resistor between CAN high and CAN low, but then you add another one, your total resistance goes down to 60 ohms. This means that over terminating a bus is possible if you add another node that has termination built in to a bus which is already correctly terminated. In doing so, in adding this other resistor in parallel, you reduce the total resistance of the bus and can sometimes reduce the termination to a level that the bus no longer functions. Once again, by taking your multimeter in resistance mode and measuring that you have 60 ohms of resistance between CAN high and CAN low, you can be sure that your bus is correctly terminated. Now, as long as the CAN high ports of all the nodes on a network and the CAN low ports of all the nodes on a network are connected correctly, there are a bunch of different topologies you can use in building a CAN network. The most common involves running a CAN trunk all the way from the furthest nodes at the extents of a network, and then branching off, bifurcating from the CAN high and CAN low lines off towards nodes as you go. This topology is very similar to daisy chaining nodes together, connecting from one to the next to the next to the next. But it's also possible to tie a bunch of different nodes back to a central point in what's called a star topology. You can even have combinations of these, a single trunk that runs from the furthest points of the nodes going off to stars in between. There's quite a lot of flexibility in the way you set these things up, and that's a strength of the CAN standard. As a final point, I'll note that you can run CAN networks at various speeds or baud rates. In classical CAN, it's quite common to run baud rates between 125 kilobits a second and 1 megabit per second. And as long as all of the nodes on a bus are configured to run at the same rate, there's little functional differences between choosing one baud rate and another. Other than, of course, at higher baud rates, you can communicate more information per second. You can have more messages on the bus at a time. You can basically choose any rate you like within this range, but there are some rates that are more common than others. There are kind of discrete rates that OEM equipment tends to use. You should be aware, though, that there is a trade-off between baud rate and maximum length of the bus. The CAN standard requires that all nodes on a network network acknowledge that they've received a message. This is something we'll talk about more when we get to the data link layer. And an acknowledgement bit needs enough time to travel over the entire length of the bus before the next one can be broadcast. This basically means that the highest speed you can run the bus at is a function of how long the bus is. You need to run slow enough that the acknowledgement bit from the furthest node on the bus can travel all the way back to the first one. That being said, even at high speeds, buses can be pretty long. At about 125 kilobits per second, you can have a 500 meter long bus. And even if you're running at 1 megabit per second, you can still have a bus about 30 meters long.